Welcome to Light Warrior Radio, where our mission is to empower sensitive souls to harness their superpowers and shine their light, so together we can co-create heaven on earth. I'm your host, Dr. 𝗟𝗡𝗟𝗣𝗡, author of the #1 best-selling book, Sensitivity is Your Superpower, and founder of the Academy of Light Medicine and the 𝗟𝗘𝗟𝗡𝗨𝗟 Healing Method. Thank you for joining me.
Hello and welcome to Light Warrior Radio. Today I have Esty Rosenfeld with me. I'm really excited about this because I think more than 50% go through a divorce, and myself included. My husband here is the co-host in the background here. He's gone through it as well. And I think during that time, I was kind of making a wish to the universe. I'm like, I wish there would be like people who would help and support people through divorces consciously. Like, of all the lawyers in my small area, some were known to be cutthroat lawyers and would try to like grab everything from one spouse, to try to like intimidate the other. And this is not the energy that I wanted. So I found Esty, and I was like, whoa. She's going to have a summit. This is so exciting. I'm like, you have to be on my show. So let me tell you about Esty. So she's an award-winning family law attorney and mediator with over 20 years of experience helping individuals navigate divorce, child custody, complex legal matters with compassion and clarity. And we definitely need more Estys in the world. So she's been recognized as Northern California's super lawyer, top women attorney, top lawyer in California. She's also a highly respected author and legal educator, having co-authored multiple publications for the CEB and Family Law Quarterly. Beyond the courtroom, she's passionate about guiding people through the emotional side of divorce. After experiencing her own transformational divorce journey, she created the Transformative Divorce Course to help others move from heartbreak to healing. Her course empowers participants to reconnect with their values, rewrite their divorce story, and design a vision for a joyful, empowered future. Esty believes divorce can be a powerful opportunity for growth and reinvention. Her mission is to help people not just survive divorce, but truly thrive beyond it. So, Esty, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here, Karen. It's an honor.
Oh, yes, yes. And like I said before, I think it's really important, the kind of work that you do. And so when I heard about this summit and the course, I thought, wow, people need to know about it. But how did it start? Like, what was your journey that led you to, creating this program, creating this, writing this book, right? I mean, you're a very like well respected lawyer. So why do all this stuff?
Thank you. Yeah. Let me go back in time because it's been a process over a few decades. My divorce was over 20 years ago, and I opened my own practice around 2008, or maybe exactly 2008, June 2008. And I noticed that at the time, after I left sort of working for another firm and started working for myself, I started attracting clients that were more of what I call a growth mindset. Um, 𝗟𝗡𝗟𝗟𝗡𝗟 is like the famous person who wrote that book about growth mindset. And I noticed that those people were much more interested in personal development. And it wasn't everybody, obviously, and it wasn't all at once, but bit by bit, it seemed like the kinds of messages and experiences that I had gone through had a receptive audience in these people.
Mhm.
And when I divorced, it seemed like the universe just magnetized people, places, and events and experiences to me to really help me um, look at myself, first of all. It was a really difficult divorce. Um, it wasn't actually that the divorce itself was so complicated, but my ex had some addiction issues and mental health issues that really complicated it. And we had an infant baby. And so there was like that additional layer. And you would say that it was I hit rock bottom. Like there was so much challenge in my life at the time. There was so much pain, fear, anger, the financial fear, the uncertainty of how he was going to respond and his manner of being, etc. And people just started showing up somebody introduced me to one course and I heard about another, and I just started learning these things where I realized that everything happens for our own highest good. And in the toughest moments of our lives and in the periods of the greatest breakdown, those are the biggest opportunities for the
Mm,
most profound shift. Because we live in a universe of polarity, right? You don't have light without dark, you don't have good without bad. Kind of goes back to the creation origin story, if you will. And so I started understanding this, and I would say it was learning was not straight linear. It wasn't like, oh, I got it, and now I got it, and I'm flying.
right.
It's up and down. It's a step
Yes.
forward, it's a step back, or a half step back. But overall, I just kept growing and learning and sort of deepening my understanding of um, what had happened in my life, why I had attracted this experience in the gifts, the benefits, the blessings of it. Obviously, our daughter being the most phenomenal blessing. She's 23 years old now. So um, that was, again, this was quite a while back. And then one going back to when I opened my own practice, it seemed like those people that were receptive to that message were starting to show up in my law practice as a family law,
Mm,
aka divorce attorney. And so it took a long time. I published this book, Transformative Divorce from Broken to Blessed, 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. And it had been brewing for a long time. So everything in its own timing. And as I was writing it, as I was finishing it up, I kind of realized, like so many people I know, I've got shelves groaning with self-help books. I love them. I've been on this personal development journey for a long time. And sometimes a book isn't enough. And that's when I developed the
mm.
course to kind of hold people's hand and walk them through the exercises and tips that are set forth in the book.
Mm, yes, yes. Oh, that's great. So what I'm hearing you say is that through your own journey where it was challenging, right? It's challenging with your ex, there's some mental health issues, addiction issues, and then you have this infant. So not an easy situation. You'd already started this journey of like learning, growth, and introspective work, and so it just kind of blossomed out of there, and you started magnetizing these clients to you that were also interested in a different way of, let's just say, doing this. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's so neat.
Sometimes I witnessed that shift. So I had, for example, one example that I always think of is this guy who was like a very successful financially and career wise Silicon Valley high tech executive, really high up there, and the money and all the trappings and all of that. And he had a wife and a daughter, and he had been going through a divorce that was just beating him down. And you could see when he would come into the office, he'd be like, he was a muscular guy, but he'd be like bent over
mm,
and stressed, and it was affecting his health, his physical health, his mental health. And then one day he came in and he looked a lot different. And I was talking to him and he told me he had read the book The Secret. The Secret had come out back then. Remember the Rhonda Byrne book that
oh yeah.
launched a revolution? And he started meditating and he just really started looking at things through a different lens. When they say when we change the way we see things, the things we look at change, right?
Yes.
Change the way we look at things. So that was just an example where I just saw this gradual like
Mm,
reemerging of the butterfly. And so it being able to talk with him and help guide him further in that direction was a real privilege to be in.
mm. Sounds like it was really fulfilling for
Yeah,
you.
it's so
Yeah.
fascinating to see clients when they can learn the lessons that their divorce is bringing up and use it as rocket fuel to launch them in the right direction. It's deeply gratifying.
Oh, I love that. Taking the seeming obstacles, see the things that we say we don't want, even if we wanted the divorce, there are a lot of things that come with it that are not so easy to deal with. In my case, parental disapproval.
Mm.
Well, I should say spousal disapproval as well, because I'm the only one apparently that wanted the divorce. And I was doing it for literally my health, like mentally and physically. And I just was denying myself for so long that I made that decision, but it was not popular. So even though on paper you're like, well, a divorce, you do this, step one, two, three, four, there's so many emotions involved, there's so many other people involved. It can be really, really tough. And to have somebody like yourself who kind of, well, yeah, gets the left brain stuff, like what needs to be done, right? The
Mm.
practicalities, but also that right brain and that heart centered piece of how are you doing? Like, how can you see this differently?
Mhm.
And I do see that it was an amazing transformation. And I'm so grateful for it
Yeah.
having come the other side. Um,
There's a lot of resistance to get through. And it's, in fact, in my book, one of the chapters deals with resistance. And it's not just our own, it's also the social structure. And
mm,
sometimes women in particular have this some partially innate and partially engineered programming, I think, to take care of. And part of taking
yes.
care of is putting other people's needs as a priority. And when they are put as a priority above our own, then we can hush that inner voice for a long time. And
Yep.
to finally, like, really put ourselves first and take care of ourselves the way we would take care of our children, for example, then you can emerge and you really connect with your greatest power
Mm.
because it's splintering to be, you know, putting other people's needs in front of your own constantly.
Right. Well, it almost seems like it's our normal culture, and definitely in the Asian culture, very similar. My mom, even though she says she's controlling and bossy, at the end of the day, it was whatever dad said was the rule. Like she was there to make him happy, and as you and I know, you can't make someone happy, right?
Right.
You can't force them to be happy. Dang it, make me happy.
That's
And so I was doing my whole life trying to make my parents happy, and I was making myself miserable as trying to make my husband happy, and he had his own thing that he was going through, and it was impossible. I was just not successful at any of it, and it was only when I did the selfish thing, which was to ask for a divorce and to be fully 100% responsible on this end for my
Mhm.
own happiness, was when things started opening up. So tell me about how, when you work with people like that, how do you how do you guide them to overcome these societal like programming?
That's a great question. And first of all, good for you for like doing that. Like that's the key is really listening into that inner voice and understanding what's right for me because you are the authority on yourself. And that's one of the things that we've been socially programmed to not understand.
Yep.
We're always looking for the who's the expert, who's the expert, and what do the experts say? Well, you're the expert. You're the expert
Yeah.
on your own mental, physical, spiritual health. So there are one of the analogies that I also talk about in the book and that I like to use is that when you're in a moribund marriage, as we say in the divorce field, you're making, like a marriage that's headed to destruction. You're constantly making concessions.
Mm,
This is something that we all show up differently with different people. We show up differently with our spouse than we do with our child, than we do with our great aunt Marie, than we do with our boss, than we do with our neighbor, right? Than we do with our kids teacher, whatever. We're slightly different. We're showing people different sides of ourselves. We're not fully ourselves with every person we meet. We're showing different sides and expressing differently. And when you're in
mm,
a dysfunctional sort of a relationship, it's the analogy that came to me as I was writing the book is it's like being in a box and it's like somebody's closing the box lid further and further and you're scrunching and scrunching yourself down more and more. And then when you are actually going through a divorce and the box top opens and you can step out, you're stretching back into your own self, or you have that
yes.
opportunity at least, in a way that you were constantly cutting and accommodating and you were playing the sports game that he wanted to play or seeing the movie, whatever that she wanted to do.
Yep. So true.
Yes, right? This is what we go through. And this is how, and it almost becomes a habit. And,
Yes.
they say first you make your habits and then your habits make you. So it's this feedback loop where you're just reinforcing who you are based on these choices that you're making. You were talking about choice. And so I see it as an opportunity to really stretch into
Mm,
who are you? Rediscover those parts of yourself that you've lost. maybe you always wanted to take up a pottery class, but there was never room for that in the way that your life was structured. One of the exercises that I do is having people do a meditation where they reconnect with their inner child. And I
Mm.
do this in my course. And I actually have a free meditation on the Insight Timer app, if anybody's familiar with that.
Yeah.
Insight Timer, I've got 2 meditations there so far. And one of them is the inner child meditation. Um, and then the second one is a pineal gland meditation based on the teachings of Dr. Joe Dispenza, and which we'll talk about down the line. But the whole idea being like, what were the things you loved when you were little? The pure soul you
Mm.
that was not yet programmed by society and expectations, and reconnecting with that to rediscover your passions. And maybe some of them won't pan out. Maybe some of them will just be fun, or maybe you'll discover that you're actually a really talented artist or chef or whatever it is. But spending time self nurturing that way is one of the first steps.
Okay.
I hope.
Yes, I love that idea of stretching outside of that box and reconnecting to, and it's so true what you said, because I remember thinking to myself, well, what do I want? And then there was this blank. I had spent so much time asking everybody else what they wanted that I didn't really know what all I knew was I really liked figure skating and I liked medicine. And that was it. Like it was like so simplistic. And it wasn't, and my first husband was very powerful energy.
Mhm.
So, and I think given my programming about my job is to make my husband happy, like whatever he said went. And, like I quit my UCLA job to move it, for his homesteading and all this kind of stuff. And now I can see, wow, that really toughened me up. I learned boundaries, like all these beautiful things at the time was very difficult and challenging. So yeah, stretching out of that box to know who is me? Who is
Right.
me?
Right.
Yeah, who am I without the spouse?
Exactly. Exactly. And without the social group and without,
Mm,
this definition of being a married person. Um, I
mm,
remember, I mean, I have pivoted in my career. I still do law and I mediate, and I love mediating because it does get to that heart stuff that you were talking about
yeah,
earlier.
yeah,
Not just
nice.
hiding the pie, but like, things that courts would not get into because it's not their job, but
Right.
where people can get resolution and understanding in a way that they don't get in a courtroom. Um, and some years back, I made a conscious decision to stop litigating. And I remember having a similar sort of, on a smaller scale perhaps, but a similar sort of thinking of like, who am I without that lawyer definition? And that's another one. Because a doctor, a lawyer, there's a certain like
Yes.
respect that society grants those titles, and they're just titles. They're not who
Yep.
we are. There's something that we did, there's something that we learned, we have some knowledge and expertise. It's not my soul, it's not your soul.
Mhm.
It's so much bigger than that. So yeah, I'm just to kind of off just to follow up on something that you said there. um and I also believe so strongly that everything happens for a reason. And like you were saying, that the toughest things can be the biggest values clarification. I remember after I was divorced and I was ready to, meet the one, right? A friend took me through an exercise, and I think I may have this in my book, or maybe my idea is this will be for the next course. But it was making your top 10 can't stand list and your top 10.
I heard of that.
Have you heard of this? And it's like,
Yeah.
it has to be 10. It can only be 10. You can't have more than
Mhm.
10. So it's not like 99 traits, because that forces you to get really focused and compressed. And
And
I'm
clear.
and clear. And I remember
Yes.
one of the traits, like you have to spend time thinking about it. One of the traits that I put on my must-have list was generosity, because to me,
Mm,
generosity encompasses other things. When you have enough so that your cup runneth over, like you're coming from a place of wholeness and gratitude. So it was, you're being very conscious picking those 10 since you only get 10. And the other thing I noticed is that my can't stand list described a lot of things that I had just experienced.
mm,
So I didn't want addiction and anger issues and somebody who was fighting with their family. Like it became a compass to point me to what I did want. So just like you were describing, Dr. Karen, where you knew, like, you were like, okay, that's what I don't want. Now, what do I want? What do I, okay, I like figure skating and I like medicine and then and then what? And so sometimes we go through these experiences. Our karmic journey is to go through the difficult things so that we know what to say no to and that we don't have to keep repeating that lesson. And when we consciously learn that and we learn to say, this is what I don't want, these are my can't stand lists, and then we generate our want list, it becomes like a powerful, huge magnet that pulls us to it. It becomes the thing that brings our vision into physical manifestation.
Yes, yes. And the people have said to me in the work that I do is when I say, well, what do you desire to create in the world? What would you like to manifest? If we had a magic wand, what's your future ideal reality look like? And sometimes it's a little vague. And part of it is because it's this, well, everybody wants happiness or everybody wants whatever. And I said, well, here's the thing is you do need to tell your GPS where you want to go. Because if you say just go, then your GPS goes, well, I can't really guide you and direct you unless you give me something more specific. So one time, and you don't know this story, Esty, so I want to tell this to you because James on the line here. I was playing with my angel cards. I was into angel cards a while back, and this was like after the divorce, and was really trying to materialize my figure skating partner. Okay, I was really into pair skating. And so I tried out, and then I was dating over here, and then I was trying out with skating guys over here, and it was not working. I mean, the dating with the guys over here was okay because they didn't skate, right? So at some point, the cards kept saying the same thing. You're not being specific enough. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like at the third time, I was like, okay, fine. Right. I'm not being specific. Let me tell you how specific I'm going to be. So I was like a little cheeky and I was like, okay, so he needs to be between 5'9" and 5'10". Really good at figure skating. Handsome, by the way. Let's see. Likes to cook, likes to chop wood. Yeah, we could be lovers. And, like needs to look good on the ice. And, I mean, I was so freaking specific. Nobody in their right mind would be like, oh, Dr. Karen, that's way too specific. Like, where's the universe? And yeah, I'm like, not gay, right? Not because I don't like gay people, but because I wanted this person to be married. Right? So I asked for both in one person.
Right.
And I thought, good luck. And the funny thing is that was it. I needed to know what I didn't want. I had this experience of like trying all these partners and that didn't work because they didn't, he didn't care enough about me and that didn't work. He was too short and literally too tall, too short, didn't look good on the ice, like literally that specific. And over here, the qualities of the guys that or the guy I wanted. And so put those two together. And wouldn't you know, met James here. And I was going for some sort of manifesting workshop, and he happened to be drumming in the park, and we were like, my friend and I were just went there and got to know him, and I didn't really think he was the right one because he didn't figure skate. Except the universe is like, okay, so of all the figure skaters there are who are heterosexual, who are willing to move to where you are, there's zero. So we're going to go be creative here because of your list. And so he actually is an amazing athlete. So he learned very quickly the figure skating art, was able to and willing to move. And so, the rest is history. We've won multiple gold medal winning pairs, ice dance, singles performances. We do ice dance right now. And yeah, it's just like, a match made in heaven. So I think having that can't stand list to know what it is you do desire is super helpful.
Yes. Yeah, you got to know what you don't want to know what you want. And you got to know what you want. It's like you were saying, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there, right?
Yes, anywhere. Exactly. Well, one of the things I hear, Esty, from a lot of sensitive women, because many are empaths, I'm sure you've come across the situation, is that they don't realize until it's almost like really painful that they're married to, for lack of a better term, a narcissist.
Mhm.
So empaths and narcissists seem to attract each other. Now, my first husband had narcissistic qualities. I could see that now, but wasn't like the really, really, intense narcissist that some people have to deal with. So how do you how do you help sensitive souls who are really not wanting to hurt the other person, right? They're really wanting something peaceful, but then that other person is like,
That's such a great question. Um, in the legal world, I did a research study and co-authored an article on dealing with on the challenge of the high conflict personality in
Mhm.
family court, because it's a unique issue when you have a narcissistic personality, and I'm talking more about a truly, the full on,
Right.
full scale. They love the attention of the courtroom. It's not about resolution. You could give them everything they want. You could offer them everything they want, and they'll change their mind because it's about being engaged in the fight.
Ah.
It's about being engaged in the fight. It's about resisting. It's about controlling. It's about, creating an effect. It's like a little
Mm.
tantrum. They want the effect. Like sometimes you get the advice of like just ignore, and then the child will sort of come to their senses, like don't, because they're looking for attention, and it's a similar sort of dynamic. And so one of the pieces of advice that I give is, if you think of like a martial arts analogy, so long as I'm providing pressure, there'll be something to push back against, and it's just going to keep that thing in a loop, right? But
Okay.
when I walk away, when I don't engage, then that high conflict personality doesn't have that pressure to resist, at least not in me. Oftentimes I'll
Mm.
find it somewhere else. But it's
Gotcha.
incredibly hard, I think, to pull out of that, to kind of unplug from that sort of a dynamic. And it takes also a lot of inner resources and inner strength and inner peace. And that's where I go to like the tried and true techniques of meditation, which is not a one off. It's not like a pill. Oh, I'll meditate today and I'll take care of the problem.
Mm.
Reconnecting with your soul, with your inner wisdom, with your essence, with your highest divine self. And so it builds on itself. So
Mm.
the stronger that connection goes, so that you're not like blown about by the other person, and um, you can really strengthen and buttress your boundaries, so that you know when you're just responding appropriately and when you're like taking care of, or try. There's a line certainly um, between compassion, just being kind and empathetic or whatever, and then merging and over giving and losing yourself. And I think the more connected we can stay to our own core center, the clearer that line becomes. And then the actions that people will take as a natural result will be the appropriate actions.
Ooh, yes, that really is a gem. So many of us are so immersed in the other person's energy and drama, we don't even know that we're there, and to peel ourselves away when we have this dedicated practice, like you said, it's not a one-off, like just, consistent practice. So it's like coming back home, coming back home, coming back home to ourselves. Then whatever decision we make is from this place, not from all those scattered energies that we're absorbing from other people and their drama. And I have found that to be true, is that anytime I need to make or desire to make a really good conscious decision, I need to like go within and be quiet, because otherwise the noise of everybody wanting a piece of me or whatever, I can't make a decision from that place. So that is really great advice.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that is for everybody. We all get so scattered and fragmented by all the different messages of, advertisements, the media, friends.
Yes.
Are meaning. People can mean really well, but what's right for one person isn't necessarily right for you. So,
Yes, absolutely. And so if you're watching the replay, we have in the show notes the links to connect with Esty on her website, it's thetransformativedivorce.com, and check out the Transformative Divorce Course, as well as the book. And we'll put, again, the link on the show notes. If you're live with us, James can put the link in the chat again of how to, to get the book, and then how to go from there. So speaking of the book, Esty, can you like compare and contrast, like, what people can expect by reading the book, and then about the course? You mentioned it earlier, but maybe we can unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, so it started out that I thought I'm just going to put into practice in the course. I'm just going to kind of walk people chapter by chapter with the exercises. There's a mix here of writing exercises, meditative practices, uh,
Mm.
fun sort of homework like of the Julia Cameron style. Julia Cameron, The Writer's Way, the artist,
Oh, yes, 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 yes.
the
Yeah.
artist's way. Yeah, it's so old. I read it a long time and reread it, and so she has those little artist days, so it's a mix of different practices for people to do. The course, when I developed the course, I think it goes a little bit deeper, and
Okay.
there are, so the course it's 6 weeks.
Mm.
I teach it live. I actually need to set a date for the next one. And they're live 1 hour, 1 to 1.5 hours Zoom meetings. And in the meetings, we will do some meditative practices. There'll be breakout groups, there'll be discussion, exercises, things like that. And then there's play work to do between the meetings. And my goal is that people will have a roadmap at the end of it to, first of all, that they'll feel much more their own authentic self, that they will reconnect
Mm.
what it is that they now want to create, because they're walking through this door. The divorce is the door. It's an opportunity to recreate yourself in the way that you're meant to be, in a way that's much more in alignment with your soul, with your calling, with your true self. And so to have that sense of groundedness and connection, and then to be creating the vision, going to what you were talking about, what we were talking about earlier, about the lists of like the can stands and the must haves and all the things that you want. When you have that vision, it propels you forward. So that's the ultimate goal. So they're not incredibly different. That's the goal of the book as well. But I think that the course just goes a little bit deeper, and there are some exercises in the course that are not included in the book.
Okay, okay. Well, what I'm hearing is that for those who, enjoy or really get a lot out of that live connection and experience, the course is a really good option, not only to gain clarity, um, but there's accountability. And I got to tell you, even as proficiently busy and productive as I am, I do best when it's live. Like that accountability, because I'll just put off stuff for like months and months and months because other things come up. But if it's live and I know I'm gonna be there, that accountability is huge. And also, last what I was gonna mention is community. So I'm imagining that in this, sacred container, I'll just put those words in there, of that 6 weeks, that like sometimes people are like bearing their soul, like how difficult and challenging, and maybe they were the ones initiating divorce, and other times it's the other way around, right? They had no clue that it was happening, and it was like the rug was pulled out from under them, and so they're going through this trauma response, and having you as that, holding the space, and then others where they don't have to feel alone. I'm imagining that can be extremely powerful.
Yes, absolutely. All of that. And also, people are undergoing similar experiences, and just having the support of people that really understand on a visceral level what it is you're going through can be really supportive and helpful. And then, as you're processing through it and you're learning the lesson and you're looking in that mirror that life is holding up to you to see where you
Mm.
make these, or where you want to make these course corrections to have the kind of life you want. You see other people doing that. It's inspiring. It's like, I'll just use this example. Like when I was at this recent Dr. Joe Dispenza weekend retreat, I've listened to his meditations online, and some of them I just didn't connect with at all. But in this room with 5,000 people meditating, wow, the power was off the charts. And we were all having transformative experiences. And you could see it and feel it and hear it. And so there is definitely, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, I think, when you're working in a group.
Yes, I often get inspired, like you mentioned, inspired by other people's stories and also what they've gone through, and vice versa, right? And sometimes people don't appreciate their own work because they just did it and they're like, it's no big deal. But then other people go, oh my gosh, that was huge, and they go, really?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's this nice mirror, mirror to have it. So my understanding is that you run the 6 weeks course periodically throughout the year. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I was on kind of a hiatus for different things that were going on, and now we're doing it again. And I'm actually in the process right now of putting together a free summit, which some of your listeners might be interested in, called the Transformative Divorce Summit. And we're still working on the date, and it's going to be hopefully between 15 and 20 speakers on different aspects. And they'll be kind of shorter, bite-sized interviews, like half an hour, 40 minutes, where I'll be interviewing all these different people to just get the best possible advice all in one place for people.
Nice.
Exactly the kind of stuff we were talking about at the outset of our discussion, of how important it is to attend to the spiritual emotional side. It's not just about the document and the divorce decree and splitting the assets and figuring out the support and the custody. There's a huge other component to it that isn't tended to in the court system. And so I'm hoping that the Transformative Divorce Course will be of a lot of value to a lot of people. I mean, the summit.
That's great. Well, and I think that, you having that law degree, having that background is super helpful. Just like when people come for like medicine or healing work with me and they're doing a VIP program, I'll put on my doctor hat for a moment and I said, okay, let me look at those labs. Right. Because they're like, I don't know what this number means. Right. They're freaking out. I'm like, oh yeah, well, no, don't worry about that. Right. Like you can actually help guide people to some degree, right? You're not their lawyer per se, but you can go, oh yeah, well, this is legalese for XYZ. This is what it means. That I think that is hugely valuable because I mean, there can be other divorce coaches for sure. They're awesome, but you having that lawyer hat as well as whatever you've already created and developed is super helpful married together. Yeah.
That's my intent. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I want to open it up to our live audience here today in case they have any questions or comments. If you've been through a divorce, was it easy? Was it hard? What did you learn? If you have any questions like, hey, what would you do in this situation or that situation? You can either post in the chat or you can raise your hands, which apparently I still have that going in my Zoom where if you put your hand up for too long, I'll raise it. Yeah, that's what happened earlier. So feel free to do that, guys. And we can unmute you. In the meantime, Esty, I think what I notice for myself and I think others that are going through a divorce process, based on, cultural and societal, even though we know the stats are, 50% or more, right, get divorced, there's this whole big hit to our self-esteem. We did something wrong. This is the messaging we give ourselves. We did something wrong. We failed, right? There's plenty of people on Facebook celebrating their great grandmother or their grandfather or their parents, 60-year marriage or 70-year marriage or some crazy number like that. And then we're applauding, right? We're applauding. We're saying how great it is. The conservative, no offense to the conservatives. Okay. I'm neither liberal or conservative, but anyway, are like, oh, the family unit's destroyed and, all this kind of stuff. And to me, from the vantage point that I am at right now, I'm like, staying in an unhealthy marriage is not good. Can we please celebrate divorces here? So what's your take on that?
Yeah, I would agree. I think it was Simone de Beauvoir who said decades ago that the first freedom, I'm paraphrasing here, obviously, is for a woman is financial freedom. And there was
Oh, yes.
we didn't have, like, why did we not have divorce for so many years? Because women were financially dependent. And so there is a blessing in that, that women can get a divorce when they need it. I'm not here to promote divorce. And in
Right.
fact, the first things for my law clients that I always do is I want to examine with them, did you leave no stone unturned? Did you do anything possible to repair your relationship? Because in the same way that there can be huge growth and healing through a divorce, there can also be huge growth and healing through a bump in the road in a marriage that you then see it through to the other side and you grow from that. And it's an
Yes.
amazing work that, like, people like John Gottman have done. He's wrote the 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work, a book that everybody should read before they walk down the aisle. And just there's a lot that people can do. So my getting back to your question, I think that it does offer people the ability, when it's truly defunct, when there's nothing you can do, or God forbid, if it's abusive, obviously those are situations where, thank God you have a way to get out of that relationship. And to remember that you're not broken. It's not a failure. Everything that happens in your life happens for your highest and best good. And I really believe that. And the most difficult things are opportunities for growth. And this is probably getting a bit like woo woo, but I think that our souls call in the challenging experiences in order to resolve and grow and move on to a higher vibrational level. And so you're not broken. It's here there to teach you something. The challenge is to learn the lesson so that you don't have to walk down that street again and fall into that ditch again.
Yes. Yes. That really resonates with me. All too often, and this is to me not ideal, is we go, oh, that person was whatever. That's their fault. They're a narcissist, or this and that and this. And that. I just need to find the right person. And you and I know, wait a second. Well, yes, the universe may have given you this person to go, hey, you got some codependency patterns over here, right? From your ancestors here or whatever. And this is there for you to look at and heal. And I actually did not see it until after the divorce, to be perfectly honest.
Right.
I did not see it. It was like not, I just was not aware. And then go, what do I don't what do I want to do that is different from what I did before, so I don't recreate the exact trauma that I had in XYZ situation. So yeah, so looking at those patterns can really help instead of thinking it's their fault and you just need a better partner.
Absolutely, Karen. There's so much profundity in what you just said, in that we really, other people are just mirrors into our own.
Mhm.
And I remember hearing Wayne Dyer. Remember Wayne Dyer?
Yeah.
Years ago. And he was talking about, written so many books. He's such a giant of a spiritual teacher. He was talking about the biblical phrase that is translated as "I am that I am." And
Okay.
he was saying, what if you walked around and you just spent the day saying, I am that, I am that, I am in all of that, and seeing yourself reflected in all the things, the beautiful sunrise and the carcass and the vulture, whatever, the positive things, the people that are treating you well, and the challenging ones, and understanding that it's all one and it's all there for our growth, for our evolution. And so, yeah, it's often something that we can only see in a rearview mirror. I think that's, it's really hard when you're going through an experience to recognize that. And there are practices that help attune you to the good in a situation, such
Mm.
as a gratitude journal, waking up every morning and thinking of the 5 things you're grateful for, or when you go to sleep at night, thinking of the 5 things that went well today. We teach our kids these things to teach them to to see things in a positive light. Like, what is working in that friendship that's challenging you or whatever. And we sometimes forget to do it for ourselves. But I think that that's another key to getting closer to that, so that even while you're in a difficult experience, you can still recognize the benefits. You can be in relationship or divorcing from a narcissistic verbally abusive spouse, and you can recognize the blessing of the child that you made with that spouse. So, and you would never want anything bad to happen to that child, right? You're not gonna,
Right.
hopefully, right? And so, and that child has a part of that spouse in them. So why would you badmouth that person? You don't want
Mm.
the child to be internalizing something negative about their own parent, right? So it's all learning. It's all learning. It's all growth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. That everything that happens, every situation can be perceived from a different lens. James, actually, my husband posted something that really resonated with him on Facebook recently about what was it? About something like the devil, God and devil are the same person or something like that. I have to look it up. I don't know, James, if you remember what that is, or you turned your camera on, although on the recording you won't see it. Did you have a question or comment?
Yes, I do. I kind of fell into my paranoid side of the thing with this question after being divorced. So the question was, after divorces, does the ex ever try to reopen the case to get more from them, possibly? Because I don't know, it could be some kind of I don't know, resentment still in the.
I'm not sure. It's a question about like legally, can a person reopen a case for support or something like that?
No, I mean, can they like, if they're like really still feeling, I don't know, angry and from the divorce, can they actually try to reopen a divorced situation, or does a divorce completely call it a complete end? You
Well,
know what I mean?
it's a great question. It depends on the situation. When there are kids involved,
Mm-hmm.
California, and I'm sure in the other jurisdictions in the United States and in the world, um, the case is always live as far as the kids are concerned. So custody and support issues are always potentially at issue. Somebody can always bring up a case and say, something's not in the child's best interest. This custody plan needs to change. Or the financial circumstances have shifted and the child support needs to go up or down if they're the payor, whatever. So in that regard, a case is live until the child is no longer a minor, right? Until they turn 18 or graduate high school. Um,
Okay.
if in terms of when there are no kids involved, usually that's going to be the end of it, unless there are different grounds. And again, this is getting into like legal issues, and it's going to depend on what state you're in, et cetera. Because the divorce law is state by state. California has
Mm.
its own family code, and I'm only licensed to practice law in California. Um, but there are grounds for reopening a case for like newly discovered evidence, but it's quite rare and it's quite difficult. So I hope
Okay. 'Cause my divorce happened in California, so so okay, cool. Thank you for that response.
you're welcome. I hope that answers the question.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I think sometimes the concern is that I know I did it for my divorce. I was feeling guilty. So my parents both were against the divorce. My husband was against the divorce. So there's a certain amount of guilt where I felt like, okay, well, let's make sure. And I was the main breadwinner because he was the one building the house, right? He goes, well, I built this house, so like, what am I going to get out of it, right? So I was trying to be, um, fair, trying
Mm-hmm.
to be fair. So probably looking back, I probably could have gone to arbitration, but I couldn't be bothered. So I thought what was fair was I was going to pay him 2 years alimony and give him half the house, even though we hadn't paid for it yet, right? So I guess the question, is similar to what James was saying, is like some people will be like, oh, you can have everything, like, because they're feeling so guilty of asking for the divorce. Then later on go, wait a second, they're doing great. They're with some other, wife or husband that's making a lot of money. I should have asked for more money. I don't know why I gave them all that money. So then, like, can they reopen it legally, say we're in California, and say, hey, by the way, I want half the house, half the car, half of everything.
Usually not, unless there was undue influence or fraud or something like that. There are specific grounds in California. The way that I encourage people to look at situations like that I mean, number one, it speaks to the need to, like we were talking about throughout this discussion, be really conscious when you're going through the process of what's right, know your boundaries so that you're
Yeah.
not acting in a more sort of impulsive way to just get through it. I just had a client recently who they had done a settlement agreement on ChatGPT, and it was terrible, and it would have been terrible for this client. And the client was in a rush because of guilt feelings and feeling like not wanting to feel like they're asking too much and all of that. And in that situation, it was appropriate to take a step back and understand this is it. Once you sign this, you're done. You're not going to reopen it. So I know you're eager to get to the finish line. Well, let's take a breath here. Let's pause, think about the long-term consequences, connect with what you really need. What are the emotions that are fueling your desire to just sign something that is basically going to hurt you down the line and your kid? And take a step back. And so it speaks to the need to, like, again, be conscious and connected when you're going through it, connected to yourself, your soul, your inner wisdom. And then if you do something like that, if you got the legal grounds, you could potentially reopen the case if you wanted to go down that route. And then another option would be to look at it as like, okay, what we were talking about earlier, this is a great values clarification. It's a mirror of how I acted. This is how, and then do some conscious writing exercise about it so that you're not going to repeat that pattern, because maybe this was the last version of that particular lesson that you meant to be learning in this lifetime. And then you needed it to hurt you somehow financially or to have whatever, so that you would learn how it is that you do want to show up, how it is that you do want to be.
Yes, yes, I love that. It's that, like, something else I heard before, there are no mistakes.
I say that all the time. I think that's such a great quote. There are no mistakes, only lessons.
Yeah, yeah.
Daughters too, yeah.
Yes. Oh, and James actually looked it up. There was a meme that he posted, and goodness knows there's some of the religious folk are probably not going to like it very much. It's the meme says, God and the devil are the same person. They are you. So it's very, it could be inflammatory, I suppose, especially those people who are anti-devil, right?
I have another way, James, thank you for bringing that up, because I once was taking a Jewish spirituality class through my synagogue, and the rabbi had us do this exercise where for a week, and you would write in one pocket, I am nothing but dust and ashes. So that's kind of the negative, right? The devil, whatever.
Okay.
And then on the other piece of paper in the other pocket, I was created in the image of God. And then go through your week with those two things in your pocket and take them out from time to time. So when you're in a challenging situation, look at each one. And again, we were born and we live in this universe of polarity. This is the story of the world that we live in. It's a great big classroom and playground to teach us that contrast and to grow through it. And so I think there's a lot of truth to that. The two things are related. You can't have one.
Yes, yes, that is true. Like like you said earlier, sometimes we don't know what we desire until we know what we really can't stand. A preference, a choice. And that was the one thing for me, is like, I didn't really think I had a choice. And I think a lot of people, maybe when they're, going through relationships, I love what you said about, where you're not a pro divorce, you're just like pro consciousness, like, like, and if we can be in a relationship where it's not the end of everything, where there is some wiggle room of like, how can we get past this and grow together? Maybe the roads are aligned, right? Versus, no way, there's just no way, there's way too much whatever, and then how not to repeat those, I think.
Absolutely. I'll take an example from your field. There's this whole pro-vaccine, anti-vaccine.
Oh boy.
I know, and it's insane. And I think a lot of people have, like myself included, have like really opened our eyes and learned a lot. But if somebody says to me, you're anti-vaccine, it's like, I'm not anti or pro anything. I'm pro-health.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
Also pro-health. Everybody's right. You would think the most ordinary folks are pro-health.
Yes. Pro-health, pro-choice, pro-medical freedom, all sorts of things, which I still got in trouble for. But anyway, Esty, it's been delightful having you on the show today. Thank you so much for the work that you do. And I'm not sure exactly when this is going to air, either before or after your summit, but I'm sure that whatever you create is going to be amazing. And so the transformativedivorce.com is where you can find Esty for everyone listening in and watching us. And thank you to the wonderful live audience here, as well as my beautiful co-host, James, my husband. Thank you for supporting this whole endeavor. So Esty, thank you so much for spending your time with us.
Thank you so much, Dr. Karen. It's really been delightful speaking with you.
Yes, same here. Same here. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time on Light Warrior Radio. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. If it resonated with you, would love for you to hit subscribe and the like button, and perhaps share it with someone who's like-minded who would appreciate it. And in the meantime, would love to connect with you in my light medicine community. It's absolutely free to join, and it's for sensitive souls who wish to receive love and support, and also to share who they really are. It's a safe space for each of us to really shine. So I'll put the link below, as well as this week's offerings and freebies, and we will see you there.